All right. So my name is Chad Walter. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Paperclip. We're a 35-year-old data security and content supply chain company. So from the panelist perspective, I get to be the nasty sales guy. That's why they made me the moderator. That way I just ask questions and not try to sell people. So we're hitting on a very challenging subject today, and something that's hot in the market. I've been to several different events, both legislatively advising events as well as CISO and CIO events, and this concept of AI supremacy. So the title was The $1 Billion Battle for AI Supremacy. And as we look at where we're at today, you know, it's a $244 billion market right now, growing into about $800 billion by 2030. Actually, I saw some, as I was doing research, I saw some numbers that bring it into the $1 trillion space, especially as we're seeing some changes in the industry. So as I was doing my research, found that it's kind of breaking into three waves, if you might, as we look at this AI revolution. Wave one, and you guys will like this, consists of activities mostly focused on AI can do anything. This is kind of the phase we've been going through for the last 4 years, desperately installing AI, implementing AI. It's going to create efficiencies. It's going to it's going to change the way we operate. It's going to innovate. It's going to create more products, more services. Wave two kind of breaks into justifying the economics. And I think that's a big piece of the conversation today, because the economics piece is a challenge, and it's coming on fast. I don't know what you guys have heard. I'm sure the panelists here will have their input. And then wave three, which is always interesting, because I'm a cybersecurity wonk, you know, and when I'm at home, I wear a tinfoil hat and walk around the house, drives my wife nuts. But the cybersecurity, the data security side of this seems to be coming in at wave three. For those, how many people were in the crowd were around when cloud was brand new? Come on, I see people with white hair like mine. It's okay, you can raise your hand. But we had the same challenge at that time. If you remember, we went through this massive adoption, and I'll be interested to hear what the panelists say. Went through this massive adoption, and security. It's 2026. We're still trying to figure out how to secure data in the cloud. Security came way behind. We're gonna adopt it, prove that it works, then we're gonna try to monetize it, and then we're gonna try to secure it. Kind of the evolution. For those of us that deal in defense in depth, that's a challenge, because that's completely the opposite of way we were all taught to install software, to install new hardware, build out our networks. It was always secure first, build the security platform that now the data rides on. AI, conversely, seems to be going in that other direction. So enough about me. That's my synopsis, just to kick off this roundtable conversation. With this, I will kick off introductions. So let's start on the far end here.
Hi guys, I'm the CEO and founder of CR Equity AI. We are a fintech that specializes in AI modernization of funding. So all the small businesses that are represented in here. I'm sure you have had pain in your past or currently where if you don't have 2 years of tax returns and want to give a stool sample when you try to get funding, they probably shun you out the door. We've created a platform that provides transparency from end to end that allows small businesses and real estate investors to seek capital in a single sign-on environment, underwrite your deal, and have a decision in moments with something that used to take 75 to 90 days. Very, very honored and blessed to be here, and looking forward to providing value-added feedback for each and every one of you. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Dave Macon. I actually co-run Ex Machina with that guy back there, Clint. So in a nutshell, we've been building some other smaller AI systems. The first one we built was a C-suite as a service for small businesses. So surfacing questions, concepts that a small business may not understand that they don't know. We built a virtual focus group, so you can ask them how your messaging will impact and how people will feel about it. But ultimately, what we're working on right now is, think of like Iron Man's Jarvis, but for small business. So you can talk to, so her name's Sia, so you talk to Sia, she understands your whole business, integrates with about, I think right now it's about 1,000 apps that she can integrate with, but she can help automate the business. So really at the end of the day, you actually go back to running your business for the reasons you started the business, as opposed to running all that mundane kind of business stuff in the background.
Hi, I'm Jacob Anderson, CEO of Beyond Ordinary Software Solutions. So we are a small company that mostly solves problems. So people come to us with some kind of software problem and we solve it for them. Primarily in the past, we've been making our money from property and casualty insurance, cyber. Recently, we're doing a lot more defense work and doing the pivot over to AI solutions.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Rajan Ranganathan, Vice President at Smart Energy Water. We are a vertically integrated product company based out of Irvine, California, and we serve utility industry in energy sectors to make sure that the customers are using the latest customer experience platform. And if you are currently making payments looking at your energy bills for your energy, most likely you are on our platform. We are a global organization serving more than 400 utilities for digital engagement on the customer side, workforce, and it's going to be an interesting disruptive change that the utilities are going through, which we'll discuss through the panel, where how SEW as an organization, how we are helping the utilities move the needle from the traditional way of working towards more digital focused and AI-based modeling to ensure that you are able to provide customers with a proactive communication and helping make sure that energy costs are at check. And looking forward for the session. Thank you.
So my name is David Sanker. I'm actually a little bit odd here because I'm currently a patent attorney, so as opposed to being in technology. But before I became a patent attorney, I was actually a professor of mathematics for 3 years, and I was a software engineer for 12 years. And so being a patent attorney is actually my third career. It's a sort of a good way of staying involved in technology. I worked at a large law firm for a bunch of years doing both patent litigation and patent work where I'm building new patent portfolios. And just 2 years ago, I launched my own patent firm, Sanker IP, doing a lot of work in technology, and in particular, a lot of work in artificial intelligence. And a year ago, we were recognized by Chambers, if you're familiar with them, as being top in both intellectual property and AI. And so we're here to talk about AI today. And there's a lot going on in AI that I think we're just beginning to understand some of the ramifications.
So it's great. It's a pleasure meeting everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On the panel today, I don't know if anyone caught this, but we have finance, we have chat and automation, we have AI consulting, we have utilities, critical infrastructure, and we have controlled IP, intellectual property represented. I think that touched on every one of the key critical pieces, and I'm, of course, as you guys know, data security. I'm actually, when I say data security, it's encryption of data in use. So that'll really change to get people thinking. But anyhow, but we all touch AI in different spots. We see AI in different use cases. I think it represents probably 95% of the questions that might be in the audience today. So Jake, I'm gonna pick on you first because you sent me an email that was really interesting regarding the economics of AI, kind of that wave 2 piece. So focusing on Supremacy, do you feel that AI in general has proven that it can do anything? And then also on top of that, because you're in that consulting side, and then how is that impacting the financial foundation of AI, the financial foundation of computing in general?
Yeah, so AI can't do anything, right? That's definitely not going to happen. I don't know if that's ever, I mean, that's like saying, like, can one human do everything, even if they knew everything that they could possibly ever know? There's going to be, different levels of AI that are going to be specialized at some point, and you'll orchestrate them all. That's down the road, 10 years, maybe 15 years. If you're a software developer like me, like I have been for 40 years, your horizon is about 18 months, and then software is going to be taken over by AI almost entirely. And the economics of that makes sense, right? Because software people cost a lot of money, whereas AIs are very inexpensive, right? For right now. And the economics of that are kind of curious. Because we do see, right now on the frontier side, chat GPTs, all the public models and all that stuff, right? But they're changing their pricing models really fast, right? So it's not really free anymore. They guise it behind these budgets and stuff, right? So you burn them down really fast. But you can get open source models that are very, very compelling, right? And you can host them internally. Now you can't do a lot of the frontier models. You could if you had, $16,000 in your pocket and you could go find a Mac Studio. You could run a full-blown frontier model in your office. And it's reasonably fast, right? But it's certainly faster than I can write code, right? Certainly faster than David could come up with an argument, right? It'll burn it out. I don't know if it's going to be, compelling. Right? You want to talk to David about that, right? But that's the economics that are going on now. Seriously.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of change in that economic front. I don't know how many people follow it. We're really pushing. It's funny. I guess it's the question: is it a software challenge, or are we really pushing the boundaries of a hardware challenge?
Right. I think it's an energy challenge.
An energy challenge.
You're right. So how much energy we have? A finite amount of energy that we can generate right now on the planet, and that's holding back a lot of the AI innovation, for sure.
Yeah, I think everyone has experienced. How many people in the room use like ChatGPT, Claude, any of those for writing research and coding,
Right.
Codex? Pretty much everyone. So remember when you first logged in and how long it would take to process? Remember when you got your first computer and how long it would take to process? But anyhow, the resource side of it, and I was actually on this morning trying to get ready for this panel, and I'm in my hotel room, and it was taking forever on ChatGPT because I cheat for my research. I'm a proud user of ChatGPT. So Rob, what you're in fintech? What's your take on this financial aspect of AI?
So on our side of the world, it's really, we use AI as kind of and not to do a pun here with Microsoft, we use it as a co-pilot, right? So I do not believe that AI is going to come in and like wipe out every person in the audience to not have a job. Like I just don't believe that. What it has done for us is it has made us extremely more efficient. So we're able to provide that one-to-one directional touch to a client, right? So instead of you talking to me about what your loan application looks like, I can really get into understand that you're needing this loan for product development or whatever the use case is, right? The differentiating of what has happened in our direct business has been we are able to be very nimble and agile versus where banks are saying, hey, you don't fit into this, you don't have this type of balance sheet, so we're just going to say no. We can actually curtail and tailor deals specifically for whatever you're trying to do, right? And the AI allows us to really ask those prudent questions to get us to a yes versus just blowing you out and saying no, right? The one thing I will tell you is that while I do agree that the economics are kind of unknown, for our business, finance is a $32 trillion a year business, right? Real estate and business opportunities and trading is 32T. What I feel, and all the PhDs I have in AI, which are 0, I feel as though that because of the efficiencies associated with what we do, I think it's more towards 2 to 3 quadrillion. Because there's been capital that's been sitting on the sides, been waiting to be deployed for various reasons, administration, legal, geopolitical, wherever you are on that side of the fence. And now AI is going to kind of cut the noise to get to the signal. So we're going to like blow out the stuff that was just trash and actually get to innovation. The people that are sitting here are innovators, right? So I think this is a time, and what we've built our model on is to like get to that. We want to fund and provide capital to people who have disruptive technologies. They're going to make people's lives better. So from a finance perspective, I think AI is going to do the exact opposite. I think it's going to take people who were W-2 workers that were punching a time clock and decided to go out and get a business, and now are going to be able to meet folks in and around like myself who are going to be able to pair you with the finances you need to scale your company, utilizing artificial intelligence to get through the BS and get you the capital you need to scale your business.
Yeah, that's interesting. We were talking before the session, and I saw a report recently that the increase in website creation has, over the last 2 years, it's about a 235% increase.
Yep.
Just in this small time frame over that same time frame 2 years prior.
Correct.
You've seen a huge increase in LLC registrations.
Yeah, there was a 40,000, I think Gary Ellison wrote, whatever his name is, from Oracle. he laid off like 40,000 people last week with an email. Thank you for your service, and blew them out. And then the next day, there was a 1.55 million LLCs that have been registered over the last like 12 to 18 months. So I think what's happening, and I don't want to comment to the panel, but I think what's happening, at least from where our team is coming in, is like, Rob, they every week, we have a team meeting on Sprint, and they're like, are you going to blow us out? Because we got all this AI, right? Or do we have jobs or whatever? And I'm like, yes, you have jobs. You will forever have a job, right? As long as you're doing what you're supposed to. The thing I think what we're seeing is that people are like, hey, listen, I can work for this company for 12 years. I can come in and get tweeted and get fired. So if I'm going to get fired, I might as well start my own business. That way I can control who I fire. And I think with AI has made that a realization. People are just getting tired of like working and building these billion-dollar tech companies, right? Utilizing AI to get replaced, and then all of a sudden they don't have a job.
Yeah, I think as we were talking, and we can build on this, the giggy economy. Before AI, this AI explosion 4.5, 5 years ago now, we had the giggy economy explosion. So we may be seeing an early stage of that giggy maturation because of the power of AI.
Absolutely.
And the ease. It does put a lot of intelligence in the hands of people who may not have an expertise in a certain area. I know this firsthand because I use it for a lot of writing, and Megan Brandow, who's our director of marketing communications here, she's very happy with the content we're creating right now, instead of trying to drag it out of people. But yes, it's enhanced my writing capability. Rajan, in your space, looking at critical infrastructure, what have you seen? That's different. Now you're in highly controlled information, access, sharing. What's your thought around this?
So, yeah, from a financial standpoint, utilities are, critical spot, right? Think of this. Utility is going through a great disruption where from a financial decision making, do I go all in for my generation of power or procuring gas or natural gas supply and all those stuff, or do I need to sustain what I have and try to come up with a clean energy solution, right? That's always the dilemma of like, hey, where do I put my money, right? Where do I spend my money?
You have huge budgets to work with too.
Yeah, it is several $million or even $1 billion that we need to spend because the energy infrastructure doesn't come cheap, right? And someone's going to burn the cost, either the consumer of the power or it's going to be the large data centers who are going to be needing that heavy amount of megawatts of power. So we are in that cusp of like, hey, where do we do? That's where we come into play saying like, hey, from a AI adoption standpoint, from a utility guidance standpoint, how do we give them that data-driven insights to ensure that how do we have the utilities pivot and manage their energy load and manage their grid infrastructure at a micro level? Because in the history, or I wouldn't say history because like I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. So in the last 25 years, I've seen the tremendous change and the disruption, right? Where it started with pen and paper where people are comfortable doing what they have been doing, and then modernization of technology or smart meters come in, and now even the grid load and the e-mobility, all these are disruptions in the industry where the utilities are trying to battle where to have the financial power be spent, right? That's where the financial dilemma is coming. But on the flip side, again, it's a critical infrastructure, and how do we actually support the utilities and the customers at the end of the day to make sure that the critical infrastructure doesn't go down, because that's a backbone of the country. So how do we also make the country more energy independent so that we don't have energy reliance on the neighboring countries or any other place? How do we sustain it? So that's where the battle's going on from a financial standpoint, from the energy infrastructure.
That's great. The infrastructure play is a challenge across the board because the adoption of AI it's exciting, but at the same time, because of the controls on that space, especially geopolitically and what's happening right now, it's got an impact, something near and dear to my heart. We can talk about that later.
Sure.
So Dave, down here on the end in the IP space, what's the cost impact? I mean, you've got a different perspective.
Yeah. So. AI is having a big impact, and I was trying to think of the best way of looking at it, because there's the very big players of the AI tools, but then there's most of the rest of us who are just using the tools. And so I think our analysis should actually split up between the two. So the majority of people are using AI, and they're not actually building their own AI systems. And so from an intellectual property standpoint, the question is, okay, well, what should we be doing? Is this affecting us, and should we be doing anything differently? And I wanted to break that into two key areas that I think, one of which is that there's always this a question about whether you can protect your new innovation using patents, or do you need to protect your innovation using trade secrets? Because your process is quite different between those two, and when you can take advantage of those two can differ a lot. And one of the things with AI, a lot of the algorithms and things you're using may not be detectable at all, in which case a patent might not be very useful for you. So despite the fact that I'm a patent attorney and I like filing patents, it isn't necessarily the right answer. So there's many cases where if I can't find an infringer, why am I filing a patent and telling the world about what my innovation is? So there's this key dilemma about, well, what things do we really want to protect using patents where we're telling the world about what we're doing versus what things do we want to protect as a trade secret? And it's just like, well, we don't want to tell anybody else about this because it's really valuable and they won't be able to discover what we're doing in practice. So that's an important discussion to have. I won't go into the big details there, but it is a pretty important discussion. The second part, though, and this is very new, which is, well, what happens if a lot of the, you're using the AI tools to generate both code, inventions, and other things? It's like, well, can we protect that at all? So most of you probably know there's been clear cases that if I've got something that was generated by AI, some content, you can't get a copyright on that. So right now, lots of developers are using AI systems to generate code, and they can't copyright it. It's just like it's not allowed. It's like it's AI generated. It wasn't generated by a person. Same thing is with inventions, because there's a lot of inventions where it's like questionable, well, how much was invented by a person versus how much was actually sort of invented by the AI system. And if it's too far toward the AI system doing the inventing, then you can't get a patent on that. One of the things you can do is this goes into the equation between patents versus trade secrets, because even if AI invented something, you could protect it as a trade secret. That's okay. You just can't file a patent for it. So that also weighs into the equation as to, well, maybe you need to be protecting more as a trade secret. So then, of course, there's the big players. That's like, the OpenAI, Anthropic, and these companies. I mean, there's not very many of them, but you've got to be thinking about what are they doing in terms of patents and trade secrets. For the most part, there's a strong emphasis toward using trade secret protection, because it's like, how are you going to discover what somebody's doing? It's the algorithms. The deep value is in these hidden algorithms. And so I think we're going to see increasing use of trade secrets to protect that innovation. And then one final topic, which actually could affect some of us, which is, with the growing use of AI, we should expect to see standards. So standards are going to be starting to develop. And therefore, if you can get involved in creating some IP that's going to become part of those standards, that could be very valuable. Because then, even if it isn't easy to detect it, if it becomes part of a standard, then anybody who is implementing that standard has to be essentially an infringer of your IP. And therefore, investing in some patents could still make sense, even if it's not easily discovered, if it could become part of a standard. And so, investing in some of those core technologies and being involved in the standards bodies could be very valuable, and it could be that your IP on the standard essential patents could be more valuable than other things. So that's a key thoughts.
No, that's typical attorney taking up as much time.
Sorry about that.
Billable hours.
It was really good. So, but just as a note, I don't know if anyone's, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company to protect the innocent because it was an innocent patent scientist in the early days of AI, OpenAI, and ChatGPT, and so on. They were trying to clean up a patent application before they submitted it, and they used AI to run it through for grammar and formatting and so on. Unfortunately, when they submitted that patent, the patent was denied because all of that information was now public. So they used a free version of an OpenAI platform. And again, I'll keep the names out of it. You guys may already know who it is, but it was the estimation was in the $50 million range that was lost because of this exposure of confidential information.
And let me just actually briefly say on that there was actually a court case that came out just about a month ago where some early work, and it wasn't in the patent space, but it's still relevant here because someone had consulted with an AI tool to develop something. They later submitted it to their attorney, but then somewhat a year later or so, it goes into court, and the party that had given it to their attorney was trying to claim attorney-client privilege, and the court said no. And the reason they said no is because the person had worked with the AI system, and they said, well, that's not a confidential relationship between you and your AI tool. So we have to be very careful about our understanding about what things are privileged and things that we might have thought were privileged are not. So this thing that looks like a personal conversation between you and an AI system, don't assume that that's confidential. There's a lot of issues going on there that assume it's a public disclosure is the right way to think.
Yeah, that's good to know because I usually have Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini open at the same time, and we have group conversations. And usually it's around some prompt I've entered. And, so Dave, in the automation space, in the chat space, where are you seeing the value proposition? Where do you see financial risk? 'Cause that's a hot market.
Yeah. I would say financial risk always comes with how much you want to automate something for someone. You want to show value so somebody keeps paying you each month. But you run the risk of
They could create it themselves. That's my favorite.
Yeah, but then you're always kind of running up against the token costs as well. Because you don't want to limit, you don't want to feel like you're constrained when you pay for a kind of a monthly plan. But also you're kind of very, very aware of the token costs. Like Claude, I think it was just within the last day, they had somebody, I think it was in a $200 package a month, and they had used over $230,000 worth of tokens. And so Claude was just like, this is unsustainable, like that we can't eat. And so, I mean, that's always the risk, is you want a platform that people want to use consistently, but you kind of try to thread the needle on, how much you charge and then how much. So it's like anything, it's a margins game, right?
So for those of you in the audience, this concept of tokens, that is the measurement point for, and Rob, you got a question, but that's the measurement point for processing time on.
There is definitely a delicate balance for that, and I really do champion his struggle because when we built our platform, we were kind of going down the subscription as a service model, if you will, and I believe, no offense to anybody, hate to say this, but I think that is slowly but surely with AI as it becomes more aggressive in some of its things, probably, I think subscription as a service is probably in its 11th hour, and there's going to be things that are going to be subscription as a service, but because of what we're talking about here, I believe that the focus and transition from a SaaS model into large language and then SLM modeling where you kind of pay as you go, tokens or whatever not, is probably going to become more present. And the reason why I use this is that, case in point, I have a 5-year-old. Up until about 3 months ago, I had no idea I had 3 Disney Plus subscriptions. We had one for our vehicle, we had one for my phone, and then we had one inside the house. I had no idea, and I think they give you 5 licenses. So of course they're not going to go and tell us that we had 5 subscriptions. Why would they? And the only reason why we found out about it is that my brother loves college hoops, and we found out that Disney bought, I guess, Hulu or whatever else, so you can watch ESPN. So I thought I had that. I had it on my phone, but I didn't have it in the house or in the car. So that's how we were able to, use AI to go in there and figure out what was going on. I use this colloquial example as a way to say I think the market has kind of been burnt out on subscription as a service. People are not wanting to pay for things that add value. So as a small business, going back to why Dave is important, adding value, I'm okay with paying for tokens, right? If I need something and I need to build out that COO or that marketing officer or whatever function in my business, no offense to anybody, I'd rather pay Dave, if it's something that's proven, $250, get what I need, use it, do a 4x return on that, then come back to him for another $250 to do. I'll do that every day, right? But from a financial perspective, continue to pay the well and not add value. I think people are just getting bludgeoned to death by looking at their Apple subscriptions and paying $19.99 a month, and they say, okay, what am I paying this for, right? So I think there's a delicate balance, Chad. I think that as AI progressively gets better, you're going to have that shift from just paying the total every month to being more as we need it kind of thing.
Yes.
I want to add something. So the project that I started about a month ago is an open source project that got bought by Apple. So I decided to throw a tantrum and convert it to C#. And so I wanted to use it, right, and done that, right, in my little tantrum way. So I did. And I used Codex to do it, and then I used Gemini, and then I had to use Claude, and in internal we use a lot of other internal AIs as well, like Quinn, for instance, right? I love Quinn. Quinn's a great AI, right? She does really great code. So at the end of the day, when it was all done, Claude finished it on Saturday, and it was 14.5 million lines of code. That cost
Small application.
Small application,
Yeah,
small graph
application,
library.
Simple application.
Yeah.
14.5.
Yeah.
It cost me like $200. $200 to do that. That would have cost an army of software developers a year to finish that.
Yeah.
And it's $200. So no wonder tokens, man. I don't want that.
Were you happy to pay that?
I was happy to pay it. I was like, oh, this is great, because from that we have generated so many sample applications.
Sure.
I'm just like, I'm gonna do this today. I want to do this today. I want to do this today. We go to the DOD or DOW. Just check this out. We can do this, and then they're like, what? Yeah, from that one thing.
So keeping that in mind, we're asked, I mean, this is about supremacy, and with supremacy comes this concept of an AI bubble and bursting. So we've covered a little bit about the economics behind the creating AI applications, agentic AI. We haven't gotten into some of the challenges with agentic AI and shadow AI and so on. But looking at this, Now, getting to the basis of it, this concept of tokens, because as I was mentioning, that's how the big engines monetize their services. Token sessions, they're in and out. Those token sessions are directly related to energy consumption, hardware consumption. We're seeing what NVIDIA's been doing, and Intel and AWS and so on. So we're getting to this, and there's a lot being written right now about they can't sustain this $20 a month subscription.
Right.
You guys identified it. We've all taken advantage of it. What happens if it's no longer at $25? What happens if like the cloud model, it starts to mature into, say, $1 a token session? Remember, it's an in and out. That's how cloud's measured, is by activity. That's how they bill us. It's where we get into cloud creep in all of our bills. Mm-hmm. But what happens if, is that a bubble point? Will that be an inflection where it no longer costs you $250 to do that? It costs you $2,500.
Yeah, I don't really see large language models being long for the world. I don't think that they're sustainable. It just this concept of kind of a master, a jack of all trades, right? I think you kind of have to, we're going to see probably parsing off into more specialized areas, segments.
Verticalization, specialization.
And then, kind of just having, hyper-focused in this one area, so then you're paying for a specialist in that area. Because, I mean, Sam Altman was just talking about, just the other day, talking about the concepts of should you be able to have sex with ChatGPT? And I'm
I think there's a session on.
Yeah, but I don't
relationship
see,
side.
I don't see that same tool that you use to have like sexy conversations also helping a doctor, and I wouldn't want them to. Right, so there have to be some kind of trend.
Are you talking about guardrails on this stuff? No.
I think I might.
Just run with it. Make it happen.
But the whole large language model, because they say every iteration is costs. It's not scalable. It's like a hockey stick. It just infinitely gets more and more expensive for every rollout.
Yeah, I think there was something about right now that it's not an incremental. You're just doubling your costs to expand that large language model. It's an X factor of like 10 or something of that nature every time they boost it. And so the linear nature of how GPUs operate, there is a finite number you can put on a chipset. There's so without getting into the technology behind it.
I was going to say, but I might sort of have a slightly contrarian review of this because, I mean, one of the things I see lots of people innovating on all sorts of things. And so you've got the large language models, which inherently have various issues. You've got hallucinations, you've got excessive energy use, and a number of other things. Well, of course, now you've got a problem. Okay, well, people can start coming up with solutions. And I have people contacting me to file patent applications for lots of this innovation. So I see lots of innovation. So I don't see LLMs as being just that's what we got, that's what it's going to exist, and then it's going to disappear. I see people adding on to it and improving it, like in terms of energy use. There's things that I've got people talking about improving, decreasing energy usage by a factor of 1,000 or something. It's like, that's a big deal. And other techniques for, basically eliminating or substantially eliminating hallucinations. So I see a lot of innovation going on, and so I don't think it'll necessarily go away. I think it's just going to evolve.
So again, we have been talking about a lot on the energy side. I cannot stop commenting on that, being in that industry, right? So I'm not sure how many people know, every query that you write with Claude or ChatGPT, every query is equivalent to 3 seconds of your light bulb being turned on. That much power is being utilized behind the scene. Think of millions of users using that level of querying at the same time, and the energy grid being put under tremendous stress, right? How does the utility actually monetize that, right? And that's where the billion-dollar supremacies topic becomes more relevant, even with the utilities who might not be an AI innovator, but the true contributor for the AI to be in existence, right? In making sure that the energy required to run all your data models are being made available and in a sustainable way and not being disruptive to the human population, because there's only so much you can go about in generating power because you need to manage the base load.
I think, go ahead.
I love that. I will say that we did our own kind of what we in the military we call after action report, but we looked at how many times ChatGPT is used today, right? It's 2.5 billion, just to throw that out there. Now you can ask Claude, you can ask Gemini a little bit, but the average is about 2.5 billion. So when he just said 3 seconds, right, 2.5 billion, that's a lot of energy. But there's an opportunity out there for each and every one of you in the audience when you talk about billion-dollar supremacy. You just have to figure out a way for your business, in order to scale, to be a part of that $2.5 billion call each day. I don't know what that is for you, right? But that's something internally that we've looked at as far as scalability. It's like, okay, how do we know that we're not going to take over JP Morgan Chase in financing. That's just not going to happen. Okay, but if we're able to get 1/2 of 1% of that business, that 2.5 billion per day somehow, how do we get that market? And we think that that's a very obtainable market. So for us, it's like pivoting to that billion-dollar supremacy side of it is, if you look at it, if your product is able to be called 1% of that a day, what does that look like for you on an economic scale perspective?
Yeah, I agree. Real quick, time check, Megan. I think we're
6 minutes.
We got about 6 minutes.
Sure.
Okay, just wanted to make. All right. So Jake, I know you had a...
I did. I just wanted to bring up that, we've seen this before, right? So during the second dot-com wave, we saw the big bandwidth push, right? And so there was bandwidth exchanges, people trying to monetize bandwidth. Same thing's happening today with tokens. It's essentially just another resource that we're trying to manage. So it's very interesting to see that the bandwidth solution came up with a host of innovation, right? Just all kinds of wonderful ideas came out of that. So right now, to Rob's point, is you guys have an opportunity to go and look at that. I would say go back and look at the bandwidth exchanges, the bandwidth argument, and see what they did there can almost be laterally applied to the token arguments today. And you can even ask ChatGPT about that, and they'll probably give you a little bit.
Sure, it'll defend itself,
Right?
So we've got about 6 minutes in looking at the crystal ball. Put your great Karnak hat on. Looking forward, the next 3 to 5 years, there's a lot published about this. Where is AI going? I personally feel that AI, I do things in a crawl, walk, run mindset. That's how I put it in raising my 2 kids. I think AI right now is a petulant toddler. I mean, it's running all over the house. It's running into things. It's breaking. It's making stuff up. I had to control that statement. Otherwise, I was going to hallucinate. But that's where I see it, and that toddler's becoming really expensive. That's my point of view. And when we look at Supremacy, we've got to get that under control. But let's ask the panel, where do you see this putting that crystal ball in front of you? What do you see happening? And I know, is it we go more SLM? Is it innovation is going to reshape how we approach, and what we see today in AI is not what we're going to see in 3 or 5 years. It's going to change drastically from here. But throw it out to the panel. I'm going to leave it open without giving too many more guides.
I think it's fractional. I think it changes every 10 seconds or probably nanoseconds. So I think that question you have is a loaded question. For me and where we're at as a company, we're not making one investment here or there. We're making many small micro investments all over the place based on what we see in the market and as it changes. Some of them are going to be loss leaders. Some of them are just going to be just toilet. We just spent 5, 10, 100 grand here. It's not going to work. Some of them are going to have exponential returns. We've already seen 1 or 2 of those internally. And we're going to continue to make small, micro hedgings across the actual spectrum of the enterprise.
Again, for me, I think it's going to be a verticalization of data model is going to be the way to go forward, and industrial specific use cases, because again, to the point what Chad mentioned before, right? How can we make sure that your industry's trade secrets are going to be kept in-house, right? Using a large language model, again, the privacy goes away, right? It's data, kind of worms is open. So how can we break it up into smaller chunks and make it more industry specific and verticalized, so that you're not looking at a smaller pane of lens and you're looking at that industry holistically, be it utility, be it automotive, or any other industry if you look into it. The AI models that are currently running today is kind of a broad brush. It's not verticalized. It doesn't really tell the use cases of like, hey, this industry does operate and need X, Y, and Z. How can I be more prescriptive for those industrial segments? So that's where I think the AI model is going to be moving towards, where it is vertical, industry-focused journey, and small language models, or even like unilateral language models is what I would say. So it's very contained, and the trade secrets are being preserved.
Although that brings up the question, and this is hypothetical, this would be a whole nother session. Are we talking about air gapping SLM from LLM? And because we do so well with air gapping networks now for security reasons, not so much. But anyways, we'll hold that one. But yes, please continue.
I was just going to say, I think just with the nature of people, AI is going to, over the next few years, just kind of lose the allure that it has right now, because everybody uses it to make themselves into little action figures. And then people are going to get bored. Like we were in San Francisco, and Clint and I took a self-driving car, and my mind was blown that there was no driver in the car, and we went down to the bay. And then on the way back, it was kind of like, whatever. And we just sat in the back seat eating a lobster roll. And it was just like, we're in a self-driving car. This should be mind-blowing. But anybody in San Francisco was just like, just a hassle. And it's just like, whatever. And, if the first time you've seen it, it's really cool. But, like every other tech, like I have a folding phone. Like that should blow my mind every time I open it. But it's just like, whatever. It's just the phone. So I think that's just the way people go, right? They just kind of get used to this is just how it is.
So you're seeing a normalization. I think we're already seeing studies on younger people. We're talking 6, 7, 8 years old, where they're already using AI. They don't realize that it's AI. It's just part of what they do. And so we see that shift. I mean, we saw that shift happen in technology in general. Everyone's got a cell phone. There was a time, believe it or not, that not everyone in your family had a cell phone. Or even a landline. All right, so where are we going next?
I think right now, I want to agree with everybody, right? But I'm on the innovative side where I'm trying to find ways to take ideas and make them real. And we can do that almost every day, right? Just the other day, I decided another tantrum. So I like Grok, right? Super Grok is really fun to talk to. So I decided the other day, like, Grok, I want to make you real. So I went and got a robot, and I hooked up Grok to it. So I got a robot that drives around in the office that talks to Grok. I can interact with Grok in real life on my robot. It took nothing to do. It was like $400, right? So that's the kind of innovation that can happen today, right? Now that costs money. Not everybody has access to money and things like that. So there's a normalizer that's happening right now, right? And that means that everybody has the same kind of opportunity reach, but not necessarily the economic reach yet, right? Yeah. But the opportunity reach is there. So you guys can just like pretty much do whatever you want. You just have to try it.
Yeah, exactly. You get the last one. You got like 30 seconds. Though.
Okay. Oh, gotta go back.
No pressure.
I'll say two things. One on the money issue is like, right now there's a huge disparity between the value that we're getting from these tools versus what we're actually paying. And that gap is going to have to close. And there's really only two ways. Either we're going to pay for it out of our pocket, or it's going to devolve into more of an advertising model. I mean, one of those two is going to happen, and maybe some of both. The money's got to be there to pay for it. The other issue, which I think is, I don't think we've really addressed here, is sort of the guardrails on AI. The guardrails are not very good. Even with what Anthropic has done, we've seen some examples where they're pretty easily able to bypass those guardrails.
Anthropic had an issue recently?
Had an issue recently, yes.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Oh yeah, there was a case where a person specifically used Claude to generate a virus or something that they were ransomware, and used Claude to generate some ransomware. And it's like, well, that probably shouldn't have happened, but it wasn't too difficult to do. So I think we're going to have to see a lot more in terms of effective guardrails that actually make sure that what AI is doing is what we want it to do. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on that.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing on guardrails that comes up? So AI today has brought back to life something that we tried to get rid of, and that's called redlining. So redlining happens pretty much all across AI. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up, look at the history of redlining, because it's an easy way for companies to discriminate under the guise of, well, the AI did this.
Yeah, AI is all based on how it's trained. That's one of the challenges, and I appreciate everyone sitting through this. I think we could go another hour. My big challenge right now is security. 2 years ago it was about creating AI for security. We were going to use AI tools to get better at security. And this year, the shift actually seems to be, how do we secure AI? That's refreshing for me and my business with a disruptive technology. But anyhow, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, panel, for giving us your...
Looks like the first question.